What's the one skill that could change just about everything for you, but that you're probably not working on? Well, it might just be emotional intelligence. And today we're going to find out why it's basically an untapped superpower.
So let's start with this powerful idea from Daniel Goleman, who's really the pioneer of this whole field. Think about what he's saying here. Your IQ, your book smarts, that'll get your foot in the door, it'll land you the job. But once you're in that job, that's when your EQ, your emotional intelligence, takes over. It's the secret sauce that really predicts who's going to be a leader, who's going to be a top performer. All right, so if it's that critical for our success, for our relationships, for our own well-being, what exactly is this thing? Well, let's start with the foundational model. Goleman gives us a great framework for this, breaking emotional intelligence down into 4 core pillars that all build on each other. And you can see how this just flows. It all starts with you. First, self-awareness. Do you even know what you're feeling in the first place? Then it's about self-management. Once you know what you're feeling, can you manage it? Especially when those emotions are, disruptive. Okay, once you have a handle on your own stuff, you can turn your focus outward. That's social awareness, being empathetic, tuning into what other people are feeling. And finally, you put it all together with relationship management, using everything you've learned to handle conflicts and just build better connections. It's a total inside-out job. Now, this is what I think is so incredible, and it's the core difference between IQ and EQ. Your IQ is pretty much fixed, but your EQ, look at that, it's learned and learnable, and that is a huge deal. It means you're not just stuck with what you were born with. This is a skill you can actively develop at any age. It's a muscle you can actually train. Okay, so we've got the framework, but how do we get better at that very first pillar, self-awareness? Well, it turns out the key might be something we use every single day, our words. So the psychologist Mark Brackett argues that we need to stop using these big, vague labels like I'm stressed or I'm angry. He says we need to get more precise, more granular with our emotional vocabulary. And it makes so much sense, right? Because how can you manage an emotion if you don't really know what it is you're feeling? Let's look at this example. Anger and disappointment. On the surface, they can feel pretty similar, but their sources, totally different. Anger comes from feeling like an injustice was done to you, like someone cheating or sabotaging you. Disappointment, on the other hand, comes from your own expectations not being met. You tried your best and it just didn't work out. Now, the way you deal with an injustice is completely different from how you deal with your own performance. So getting the word right tells you what action to take. It's incredibly powerful. So we have a model for EQ, and we know our language is a key tool, but what if the very foundation of how we think about emotions is just wrong? And this brings us to a really revolutionary idea from the neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett. She suggests that your brain doesn't just react with emotions. Instead, it actively builds them, on the fly, every moment of your life. So the way this works is through something called prediction. Your brain is constantly getting signals from your body, your heart's beating faster, your stomach is turning, and based on every experience you've ever had, it makes a best guess about what those sensations mean in this specific situation. That guess is the emotion. The takeaway here is pretty radical. It means emotions aren't these hardwired circuits in your brain that just get triggered. They're not happening to you. They're being constructed by you, moment by moment. I mean, as Barrett herself says, emotions which seem to happen to you are actually made by you. Let that sink in. This just flips the whole script. We go from being passive victims of our feelings to being the active architects of them. So, if we're building our own emotions, that means we have power here. It means we can actually become the architects of our own experience. So let's see how that works in real life. Let's put this into practice. Picture that feeling before a huge exam. Your heart is pounding. The old story your brain might instantly tell you is, this is crippling test anxiety. I'm gonna bomb. But what if you teach your brain a new story? What if you tell it, no, this feeling, this pounding heart, this is my body getting ready for battle. It's gearing me up to ace this test. All of a sudden, you're not anxious. You're feeling energized determination. It's the exact same physical sensation, but a completely different emotional experience because you changed the story. And this is where we can tie everything together into one powerful process. Step 1, you identify the feeling using precise words. Just like Mark Brackett said, don't just say, I feel bad, say, I feel envious, or I feel disappointed. Step 2, you reframe the prediction. That's the Lisa Feldman Barrett part.
You question your brain's first guess. Is this really anxiety or could it be determination? And finally, step 3, based on that new, more accurate story, you choose your response using Daniel Goleman's ideas about self-management. See how it all connects?
You know, this new way of thinking comes with a real sense of responsibility. But as Barrett says, we're responsible not because we're to blame for our feelings, but because we're the only ones who can change them. It's not about blame at all. It's all about empowerment.
So the bottom line is this. Your brain learns from the stories you tell it. The emotional experiences you construct for yourself today literally become the automatic predictions it makes tomorrow. And that leaves all of us with one final, very powerful question to think about. What story will you teach your brain to tell?